Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is August 1st, 5 o'clock on a Friday. Thank you all for coming to this meeting today. We will begin the meeting with a call to order and a pledge of allegiance. So please stand and rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Amendment and approval of the agenda. It's a very short agenda.
Yeah, I don't have any amendments, so unless Commissioner Coker does.
I do not.
Okay, then I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
I'll call for the question. Commissioner Coker?
Aye.
Commissioner Hollinger?
Aye.
And I as well. Okay, number 3 is discussion action items. Item A, Curry County Commissioner update. So I will have Mr. Coker, you can begin.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Today's day 91 in my tenure as a Curry County Commissioner, and I want to thank you very much. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of our staff, but certainly not all of them. Most of them don't buzz around inside here much. They're out working, and it just takes a while to get out there and see everybody, but that's my commitment. But I do want to say that, by and large, this is an impressive group that I have been able to join. It's just amazing the kind of work that's been done. And one of the things that I would represent tonight is that I joined like 2 days before we started our initial work on our 2025-26 budget. And what a great way to get to know an organization. Come in when they're reviewing how they spent their time and their money the year before and how they're forecasting to spend their time and money in the year to come. And the task that it is, especially when the task is composed of people who really care deeply about what they're doing and they're passionate about being able to get the ball across the finish line, but there's never enough money to do it. Oh, man. And the intensity of the arm wrestling contest that unfolded in the March, April, May timeframe was just extraordinary. And I was delighted to be able to see a good portion of that official part. But that comment about being ready for 2025-26 needs to be supported by a clear understanding that 24 and 25, our budget the year before, and the work that was done was extraordinary by our department leaders. We took them down in manpower, we took them down in budgets, and still they worked and worked and worked as an organization to get the services done. And for them, if they were here, I would applaud all of them. I just think they did an outstanding job the year prior. And that's really broad and strong shoulders to stand on as we go into 25-26. So one of the things I wanted to do tonight was share what I've discovered. I'm going to start off with some really time-sensitive stuff. So if you have friends and neighbors in the county that I do, some of these things are going to be important for you to listen to because you'll want to pass on that there's some due dates. So for instance, back this last March, we had a really bad inundation of rain. And we were declared, after a lot of work by our legislative team, cooperating with the counties, the governor, everybody approaching FEMA and the federal government trying to get us declared as a disaster area. We got that disaster area declaration. And there are hundreds of thousands of dollars that are going to be available to us as a result of the legislative work and the cooperation of the entire leadership team, one voice going to the feds saying we need help. That's great. But there's icing on the cake, and this is where it's time sensitive. A part of the FEMA declaration, FEMA was primarily and is public money that's going for roads and the like. Yay, we need that for the landslide areas. But part of what the declaration was an SBA portion, which is lending as opposed to grants. But the neat thing is that it's not just for commercial and or public. It can be for residential use as well. So for those of us that lived or live in the areas that have been impacted by that inundation this last spring, they need to understand that there is some very deep-pocketed loans available for them, but the applications for those loans have to be in by August 25th. Now, if the reason that I think we need to get the word out is because of the interest rates on these loans. For the homeowners, they have a 2.75 interest rate on those loans. That is terrific in today's world. So if you know anybody that's hanging out there, have damage, they need these loans, it goes up to a couple $1 million for, I don't know, I would like to see somebody's house that was $2 million. It's certainly more than what I've got, but nevertheless, that's a lot of money to help restore places. The other thing that I want to mention is that's time sensitive. It is the fact that fire season is upon us. And as a leadership team here in the county, we're working with Oregon Fire. We're working through our emergency management services. We're working with the legislature, trying to make certain that we keep focus on the fire prevention, the degrading of the risk associated that we face every year. We want that risk reduced. So one of the things that we're doing this next week, I think it is, I think it's on the 6th when we have our next meeting. We're having the Oregon Fire Department come here along with our emergency managers. We're going to be speaking with the coordinators of the different agencies that are all come into force and play during these fire seasons. And if that's something you want to be a part of that conversation, you want to watch, be sure and look at it live stream or even come down here. But that's going to be an important meeting for us as we put the house in order in anticipation of a very difficult 60 to 70 days rolling in front of us. One of the things that we were able to do yesterday, and I wanted to thank my colleagues here on the board, was that we've been arm wrestling with we've got some new TLT money, and we were trying to figure out how best to apply that. And the consensus was, it wasn't a decision, but it is a consensus that we're going to move forward and use a substantial amount of money for making our commercial enterprises in both the incorporated and unincorporated areas of Curry County. We're going to help them burnish them. We're going to help them polish them up. We're going to have money that's available for facade restoration for these organizations. So when people drive through Brookings or Gold Beach or Langlois or Port Orford, they see something that is inviting, it's comfortable, it's like a magnet, it pulls them over to have lunch, have a picnic, whatever it is, but it slows the cars down and it gives them more time to spend money in Curry County. So we're going to spend a little bit money to create that magnet. And one of our first enterprises that we're going to put some money into is going to be our own Gold Beach Main Street here. And so we're very, very proud of the work that they do on behalf of all of us here in Gold Beach. So that's an exciting thing that's happening. If you haven't already, get to know our juvenile department if you can. My experience coming in the budget season, I didn't know juvenile from elderly at that time. I wasn't that close to it. But when you look at the commitment that staff and the leadership have for that enterprise, it's just incredible. They go out and they make us money by getting grants. They go out and they make us money by doing fundraising. That staff holds bunco games. You know what bunco is? That's a card game that you play with 4 or 5 people, isn't it? Isn't that bunco?
No, dice.
Oh, it's dice. See, I don't even go. I have served them because my wife does it in my house, but I leave because of all the noise. But they go out and they hold these things, and they raised over $2,000 for our kids in the juvenile flow just from that particular volunteer exercise. But that's not the best. The creme de la creme is that they went out and they have raised money through grants. And, we're kind of a small town, rural community, but the money that they went out and got was not small town, rural kind of just bring it in easy. They brought in over $100,000 in grants for our juvenile program. And in addition to that, they have spent time delivering food baskets. I mean, this is our staff, and these are the catalysts of the young boys and the girls that are there. They get them to help with all this. They deliver food baskets and stuff like that through the community to homeless youth even. So it's just a remarkable organization. If you ever want to feel proud about how we take care of our neighbors, that's a good place to start your education. It's really remarkable. And I've enjoyed getting to know them. The other thing that I mentioned that's really good news is we have an aquatics program here in the county. Jay can speak to it with such passion because his family's been involved with it through his daughter. I know it just because I've been able to see them from time to time with the kids, and I understand how valuable that is. Well, that leads me into a thought process and an explanation to you of one of the considerations that's on the table for us. We would like to figure out a way in Curry County how to exploit our federal services in creating career paths for our children and our youngsters, our youth, that amplifies their opportunity to make careers in oceanic endeavors, whatever that might be. And certainly our aquatics program is a step absolutely in that direction. But in our exploration of what the federal government can do with this, we've found that the United States Navy has a program called Sea Cadets. We already have, I think, like 4 of those operations in counties throughout Oregon. We're now interviewing and being interviewed by the United States Navy for a Sea Cadets program here in Curry County. I don't know where it's going to go, but I can't imagine why they would want to do it any place other than here. I mean, they've got stuff in the valley. I don't know why they wouldn't have it on the ocean. It just doesn't make any sense. And it's a career enterprise. It goes on from the time these kids are 10, 12, 13 years old until they're 17 years old. And what's remarkable about it is the statistics on it. It's like, so they have 25 in a community. What happens to those 25 that's different than what goes on with 25 kids in the same community that aren't part of the Sea Cadets? 100% of these kids will go on to higher education and/or they will go on to trades programs. And, you know, if you see half the kids in other educational efforts, what they do, they can't even compare to the statistics of the population that goes through the Sea Cadets. It's a very exciting endeavor. Stay tuned. We're going to try to get that nailed as soon as we can. There's no free anything when you're raising kids or when you're training kids, so we're going to have to figure out how to fund it, but it's worth it, right? It's worth it. So that's up. The other thing I shared early on when I put my name in for nomination that I felt like we weren't looking at infrastructure to the degree that they could if somebody that had my background and my experience in infrastructure development. So they said, okay, come on in and you can work with us here for a while. And so I've looked at the roads, the bridges, and the culverts that we have in our county. And I want you to know we've got problems. We have problems. So we have, I think it's 33 bridges. I've been able to look at 6 of the ones that are very ill. Out of the ones that are the problem children, there are 2 that really are a risk for commerce and for residential safety. And we're in the process, we're on the front side of taking a look at those 2 bridges as our top priority for the allocation of capital expenses in order to fortify the safety of our communities and the progress and growth of our commerce, especially as it applies to timber, because that's what's going over those bridges coming in from the outside the incorporated areas. So we're going to be doing that this year. It's probably a 2-year project. It's going to be a multi-million-dollar enterprise. We've got such a great road group. We're going to get as much funds from the federal government, from Oregon, in order to do those things. So maybe we only have to come up with 25% of the cost, but it ain't going to be cheap. And the last thing I have to say is, has to do with the offshore wind. If you recall, last year, we were fighting tooth and nail with the federal government and with Oregon state government to stop the effort to lease land, or lease ocean waters. They wanted about 197,000 acres of offshore waters to put up big wind turbines. These things are like 1,200 feet into the air, massive things. So as a group, we citizens, 80% of us voted, and we said, don't do that, stop that. And the state listened. And we weren't the only county that was saying that. Across the country, others have said that as well. And so with the administration that came in back in January, there was a declaration that you cannot continue leasing our waters, our ocean waters on the continental shelf for this wind enterprise process. And so they shut the leasing process down. But you've probably heard the term deep state. The deep state is spelled B-O-E-M and N-O-A-A. BOEM and NOAA are deep state enterprises in the Washington, D.C. area with branches even here just in Northern California. They've pulled the shades down, they've closed the doors, and they've continued this enterprise of doing the pre-leasing work in anticipation of being able to lease as soon as they flip the current administration out of there. So there is breathing time that we bought for our efforts. But I encourage you to stay in tune with what's happening in that industry. It will literally collapse our culture if they press forward. It will change lives for 100 years or longer. Even though it's going to fail, it will fail, but it'll take us 100 years to recover from something like that. So we have to be in tune. I will mention that every time you give me an opportunity. Let's keep our pencils sharp. Let's stay in tune with what the developers are doing, and we have to watch our own state government, who is hand in glove with BOEM and NOAA in this, I want to call it almost shadowy effort. Spending your money, they are millions of dollars, spending our money trying to put together the groundwork for the reinitiation of that leasing process in about 42 months. So thank you guys very much.
Can I ask you to?
Keep talking.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Can you give us also a short summarization in your work with some of our designated county land that we are looking at possibly developing for transitional and workforce housing?
Well, I can. I've worked with our director of operations and gone around and looked at scores and scores and scores of vacant lots that have been a part of the county's assets for decades. You know, we probably have between $9 and $12 million worth of land that's sitting out there. It's not being taxed because we own it. We don't pay taxes on that. And we're recreating on it. It's just sitting there. So our task is to, both for commercial locations and as well as recreational locations and residential locations, is to see if there isn't some low-hanging fruit where we can go in and create something that is of greater value, and then we would either lease it or we would sell it and be able to bring in money to help us fund some of these structural things that we have to do. We could use that infusion of capital into our own coffers. So a very humble first step has been that we're looking at an inner city lot in Gold Beach as a possible place to see if this can work. Do we have the brains? Do we have the structure? Do we have the patience? Do we understand property development inside Curry County structure? Do we have that well enough to actually build something and make it marketable? So we're going to maybe try that. The other thing that we're looking at is, since governments don't do, whether it's local government or federal government, we don't do housing management very well. I don't know if you've ever been to a big city and looked at something like Bedford-Stuyvesant back 40 years ago or 20 years ago or even 30. We just don't do good at that kind of stuff. So we're thinking that we probably need a strategic partner to go with us on that development venture. They're not going to work with us on our little one lot exercise, but we want to work with somebody who is proficient in managing middle income and low income housing, that they do it, they have a sense of elegance about how they treat their tenants and how they manage the property. That's the kind of organization we want. They're not all like that, but we hope to be able to find one like that we can partner with in order to pick up where we want to step back. We want to create the model, and then we want an enterprise that does that and has been doing it for some period of time and demonstrated their competency in that regard. So that's kind of where I think we are at it. But you guys can talk further about it too. So, thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yes.
For only being here for 91 days, you are up to your eyeballs in projects. You can obviously see how hard Mr. Coker has been working on behalf of all of his constituents within the county, and he helps also take a lot of burden off of our shoulders here within the county as well by taking on these projects and helping expedite progress, and we appreciate that very much. So thank you.
It is an honor. It is an honor to serve you. Thank you for allowing me. Thank you.
I just feel like I learned so much when you're up here and you're talking. It's great, and I appreciate your diligence. The one thing I would add to the TLT conversation is that we also had some discussions about the potential to increase, sidewalk curb gutter on Lower Harbor Road connecting the port to the beach, which has been a fairly large hazard for several years, with people getting injured crossing the road there. It's a large tourist destination area, and people go from, either the beachfront inn or the multitude of different, not trailer parks, but camping places to the port, and they walk, and they're forced to walk along the road. So we're looking at that as well as increasing safety and access, which will also increase foot traffic in front of a lot of those businesses down there at the port. So that's another addition to that conversation. Commissioner Hollinger.
Sure. So there's a few positives I'd like to discuss as well. A lot of things I've been working on for the last 6 months I've been in office. One of them, some good news. Last week, we got further notice from our two U.S. senators as well as our Congress lady that the appropriated funds have all been included into the federal funding bill for our jail, in the tune of approximately $1.3 million for technological upgrades, some software, and some other infrastructure needs that are there as well. For many years, many decades, a lot of our infrastructure, as Mr. Coker touched on, was forgotten about. A lot of deferred maintenance and no preventative maintenance on a lot of things, and the jail was definitely not excluded from that. I've toured it several times, along with our Director of County Operations and along with representatives from the Senate offices as well as the Congressional office, and they see the immediate need for that funding. However, going through the appropriate channels for funding to get approved at the federal level, we probably wouldn't see that funding for about another year. Next July is what they anticipated. So that's a good thing, and something that we've been working pretty hard on accomplishing for our infrastructure. Another one of the things I wanted to touch on as well is our timber and what's been going on with our timber. And I've been working on that pretty diligently, pretty much almost on I have to say on a daily basis. We've made some great strides with that. Early on in my tenure here, I called out the accountability to our federal agencies, the Forest Service, BLM, et cetera, for really a lack of proper forest management that has led to the decline in our timber industry, has increased the chance for catastrophic wildfire, which all in turn really hurts not only our public lands, but is detrimental to our economy as well. In some pretty, I guess, contentious meetings at first with them, and calling them out bluntly, has now progressed into very good, strong relationships with both the Department of Agriculture as well as the Forest Service. And I've been able to establish some very good relationships with them, not only here at the local level as a region, but also back in Washington, D.C. Early on, I also presented to them a stewardship program that we recommend in order to not only boost our local economy and our local stakeholders in the timber industry, but also, boost our local economy and find another revenue stream for our county that we used to have, but have not had since. I am currently working with them on a contract. We've been going back and forth a couple of times on a contract that will not only benefit the Forest Service and the Department of Agriculture, but it will also benefit us. And I'm very hopeful that within the next month or two, we will have a signed contract with them to where we can go out and have those timber sales. We can do thinning. We could do ground clearings, et cetera. We can get in there and provide the proper stewardship for all of the Forest Service roads as well to help us as a tool for access for wildfire, access for those who want to go out and explore and play in our public lands. And so it's a pretty dynamic contract, and it'll be really kind of a one of a kind. And we're hoping that this will be a model contract for many other counties and states to use going forward. And they are both agencies are very excited with this opportunity with us, and we are with them. So I'm hoping that in the near future, I will be able to do another final presentation on that and present a signed contract so that we can move forward in working with those agencies to better prosper our county. The other item I wanted to touch on as well.
Real quick,
Yep, go ahead.
I need to interject.
Please.
Commissioner Hollinger's downplaying a little bit his efforts there. So a few months ago, we were on a revenue generating discussion mission. We were having a meeting about what can we do to generate revenue, and I just threw out like plain bunko. What if we try to lease federal land? What if we have a president that has just signed an executive order to increase timber production and become self-sustaining timber harvesting? Why don't we have 650,000 acres of federal Forest Service land, which is governed by the Department of Ag. And then we have BLM land, which is our ONC land, which is governed by the Department of Interior. So I said we have 650,000 acres of forest land. Why don't we see if we can lease 80 to 100,000 acres on a 40-year rotation and be a model county that could potentially self-impose a reduction in taxes because we could become more sustaining on timber funds. Patrick was listening. Commissioner Hollinger took that, and it's one thing to have an idea, it's another thing to take it into action. And he knocked on every door. He went to DC. He set up meetings. He accomplished getting a meeting with the deputy director of the Secretary of Ag under President Trump, and set up a Zoom call with her and all of her lead staff, had a contract prepared for a lease to show them, and they loved it. They said, we have been looking for a partner to do this with since this started, and since the executive order. And by the end of the day, the regional director for the Pacific Northwest that manages the federal forest lands had called to set up a meeting to discuss next steps. So he's downplaying exactly how big this is or potentially could be, and the efforts that he put into making it a reality. So, thank you.
Thank you. I think one of the big things that work in our favor with this contract as well is with the director of the Pacific Northwest region for the Forest Service. She is personally responsible for 25% of the timber harvest revenue under Trump's executive order. So she is, as you can tell, very motivated to help meet that quota for her boss. And we presented a contract to her that will help her fulfill her duties to the president. And so it's really a win-win for all of us. And I'll keep you all abreast as it continues to happen.
Can I interject too?
Sure. Please.
So he just won't say this. This whole effort started out of his investment. He and his family put this package together, flew him off, paid for the hotels there, paid for the travel, the taxi cab rides, all of that stuff. And that's the kind of people we have in the county. And I'm just so grateful that you were able to do it. Thank you, Pat.
Yeah. Thank you, Lynn. I just wanted to also kind of circle back around too that, we just had our fair and spent a lot of time at the fair, and it was wonderful. The turnout was good, and I give a lot of credit to Terry Hughes, the fair manager, as well as the fair board. They put in a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I commend them for that. But the other thing was, this was the first year in many years that we were able to use our arena at the fair safely. So there was a lot of infrastructure work that was done to that building over the past several months in order to prepare it for all of the events that happened there last week. It got a new roof. The structure within was all media blasted, primed, sealed, and protected from the elements. And that makes it so we can utilize that space now going forward and attract many other events to our area and help drive local economy. And that's a great thing as well. So those were my couple of updates I wanted to give on projects I'm working on. Obviously, you can tell timber takes up the vast majority of my time, and and without getting into any other details, constantly looking at other positive ways of restructuring the county, providing new pathways for efficiency and fiscal responsibility go into everyday work and all the decisions that we make going forward. And essentially that's what you all elected me to do. I'm doing it, and I want it to go faster. I wish it would go faster, but government doesn't move the fastest, but we're playing by all the rules that we could play by in order to bring all these things to the end of the road.
Well, real quick, Jennifer, does he need some? Does he need some water? Yeah, I'm sure we can get some water. I know sometimes it feels a little like you can't interrupt. You don't want to get up and go and.
Yeah, we might.
Just,
That's what we'll probably do.
I think Natasha's going to grab him some water.
Oh, I have one more thing. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'll keep it quick. Only because I see Connie sitting there in the back corner. I'll let them.
Yeah.
Come out for a
Jennifer, Natasha went to go get some water.
That's okay, it's not a water, it's not that kind of issue.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't-
Bye, Les. Bye, Jen.
Bye-bye.
So I want to bring this up only because it triggers my memory right now because I see Miss Hunter sitting there in the back corner. Her boss is legislator Kurt Boyce, and she works very closely with him. She works very closely with our veterans community. And early on, I shared my personal story with my health issues that I had in the past regarding some neurological issues as well as spine issues, and was able to get some leading edge treatment doing stem cell work. And that really caught their attention because this is something that not everybody has access to. And that's troublesome for me. You have great technology out there that does fix serious problems for cheap, and it works. So Connie and Court are going to help me sponsor a bill in the next legislative session to provide stem cells for everyone, veterans and everyone. So probably come this November, we're going to start drafting that bill. We have a team we're working on compiling, and we are going to present it during next legislative session next year. And if all successful, there will be a wonderful opportunity for veterans and everyone else alike to have access to a much greater technology in order to not only heal themselves and get rid of pain, but it also helps pill and opioid dependency because you won't need to have that with pain being gone. So it's a good preventive measure, and I very much look forward to working with them. So that was my last thing, I promise. There you go. It's on you.
Yeah, no. You guys do way cooler stuff than I do. Holy smokes. I'd listen to you guys all day. Couple of things. So the fire map legislation, that's been one of my biggest targets, getting that repealed. We were successful. However, we are not able to put the genie back in the bottle in terms of the insurance, right? That we're still having a lot of families and homeowners being having their insurance non-renewed due to fire issues, and it's hard to say that it didn't stem from the creation of the fire map because it was not an issue, but prior to, definitely, when they say correlation isn't causation, but it's hard not to see some correlation with this. When they specifically have to put in legislation, insurance companies are not allowed to use this risk management tool, and they are a risk management company. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to get away from. However, the nice thing about the repeal piece is that a lot of the building and planning codes and regulations and fees are not going to move forward. So that was going to be one of the biggest hang-ups for a lot of development in Curry County was the additional cost that it was going to take to build homes. One of the biggest is the Lone Ranch housing project, which is slated to be the largest housing development in Oregon, with 1,000 planned homes, with a first stage one of just over 100. And had this legislation continued to move through, it would have made those homes quite a bit more expensive going forward than previously. So we are all extremely happy that we were able to get that moved on. Another thing that I think that we should all feel really proud about is that we were able to increase public safety by 3 positions. We were able to add a CRO, a community resource officer, who would be dedicated to being out to handling and working with the transient population, some drug-dependent individuals. A lot of the low-end calls that a lot of our public safety dispatchers receive and officers are dispatched to, and deputies. So having a dedicated individual to take some of that is tremendous. Also a civil processor slash animal control, which, being able to serving civils is one of the biggest mandates of the sheriff's office, and also one of the most burdensome duties is going around and trying to find everyone to serve their civils. So having a dedicated person to be able to do that and free up our deputies to be out patrolling is also tremendous. And then an investigator in the district attorney's office. This is going to be a huge force multiplier for not just the sheriff's office, but for all of our law enforcement agencies, because having a dedicated person in the district attorney's office as an investigator, they're able to follow up on cases regardless of who the jurisdiction was under, which will be tremendous to all of our jurisdictions, and a force multiplier there. So we feel we all should be proud that we were able to get that done. And then we're currently working on an agreement with the city of Brookings for a half-time person who would be dedicated to working as a CRO in Harbor, where a lot of our issues are being faced. Now, one of the things that we would have to do, and we would have to be committed to, is examining our ordinances and making sure that our ordinances and the city of Brookings ordinances mesh, so that there is consistency in enforcement regardless of what side of the harbor bridge you live on, right? So that's one thing that if we're able to get that finalized, we will need to be examining to go forward. And then I'm glad you talked about the jail improvement funding. For those who don't know, we secured a lobbyist, Ray Bushiger, and he took the lead on this. We also got Senator Merkley's office and Senator Wyden's office involved. Staff from Senator Merkley's office came down to tour, and that was huge.
Merkley and Wyden's office
both toured the jail, and so getting these funds put into a federal package to move forward in a potential fiscal year of 26 will be a great advantage going into 26. So I'm super happy we were able to get that done. All in all, from advances in the opportunities for timber, being able to be strategic in increasing our public safety by adding, force multiplier positions and identifying all the different little avenues in which we can improve our livability is and has been a highlight of this year, I would say, and a testimony to all of your hard work. So with that, do you have any other comments, questions you'd like to bring up?
I just have just kind of a quick saying.
Okay.
This is, kind of how I carry myself and how I come to the office every day and represent the county. And, I don't make decisions to please the moment. I make them to stand firm when history looks back and asks who did the right thing when it wasn't easy. And let me tell you, the last 6 months have not been easy. It's come with a lot of holding others accountable for their actions, calling them out when they need to be called out to do the right thing, having those not only persons but agencies follow the law. And that's why I come here every day. That's why I was elected. And that's why this board here doesn't follow the status quo of past administrations and past practices. So I will turn it back over to you.
Well, with that, I mean, one of the elephant in the room is the prospective petition to recall Commissioner Hollinger and myself. And, I'd like to take a moment to address that as it comes forward. I found out yesterday that it will be essentially moving forward, and so I'd like to address that if you would entertain that. The petition to recall me was filed on July 28th by Jeremy Crone. The petition states, despite repeated calls for transparency, accountability, and action from citizens and employees of Curry County, Commissioner Jay Trost has failed the people his position serves. Now, I don't feel like I'm failing the folks that voted me into this position, but I will continue on. Trost has repeatedly defended the actions of an employee under his control who continues to subject Curry County to risk and litigation. Trost lied to the public when asked about this employee to minimize his behavior. So what I'll say is, individually, none of us control any employee. Only as a body and with a census can we make decisions. There's no context to the rest of this. It's baseless and seems to be an attempt to fill lines without any substance and thwart accountability of perjury by being vague. The next statement is, Trost has created a culture of fear and retaliation that prevents employees from speaking up. I find this statement to lack sincerity and honesty, and I will explain why. On April 16th, at 8:06 p.m., I received a message from the petitioner, Jeremy Crone, stating, under anonymity, as I fear retaliation from both fronts, I believe you to be more reasonable. If you'd like to hear my perspective, let me know. Can't talk while working, not interested in some meeting. I replied on April 17th at 10:21 a.m., Lieutenant Crone, I am very much willing to discuss anything you wish to. I will tell you that if you tell me anything that requires an ethical or legal response or follow-up, I would do so and therefore not be held to retaining your ask for anonymity. The reality is I find this to be flat dishonest, and that he claims that I cause a culture of fear and retaliation when he actually sought me out privately because he stated he believed me to be more reasonable. We met in my office on April 18th, and I took notes from that meeting. And to be transparent, I will read those notes. April 18th, meeting with Lieutenant Crone. Was worried about Ward finding out. He parked out back and came in civilian clothes. Began talking about the JMOUD grant and wanted to know why we were reluctant to prove it. I explained that he needed to follow the grant application policies and shouldn't have brought it to us in the 11th hour. I also stated that we needed the sheriff to attend as he would ultimately be responsible for the follow-through and we would need his assurance on that. Crone then stated that we will never get the stats that we are asking for because Ward doesn't have them. I stated that I don't understand how he can't provide them. For instance, the electronic self-reporting should be an easy thing to track. He said he isn't sure, but the patrol lacks accountability and structure. He said that he struggles to supervise them in the jail and can't wait for them to be back out on the road. Said that is why he ran for sheriff. I asked what I could do to help with this, and he said he will be asking to retain all of his staff, including supervisors. I responded by telling him that I didn't see any changes needed to be made in the jail or dispatch, as they are both funded out of general fund and should remain stable. He then got back to the JMOUD grant and said it was too late to apply this year, but hopefully we will be prepared in October when it opens again. I agreed and asked why the sheriff attempted to go around the BOC and asked the treasurer to approve accepting the grant without authorization, and he stated he didn't know why he did that. The next statement in the petition states, Trost supports expenditures like additional legal fees to litigate against elected officials. I have to assume that this refers to the declaratory judgment that the BOC is seeking in an effort to find resolution to the matters of a board order that identifies roles and responsibilities per ORS of the sheriff and the commissioners. This does not, it does state officials, plural, and the only other fees that have been approved is on behalf of the assessor, and that was to hire an independent investigator per her tort notice. The next statement says, Trost knowingly supports an inaccurate and misleading budget due to time constraints. Trost supports funding the city of Brookings to patrol harbor, reducing funding for public safety to the rest of the county. It is true. Harbor is the largest unincorporated population center in Curry County. I do support exploring agreements with the city of Brookings, who provides 24-hour patrol to patrol in harbor. This will not take from the funding from the rest of the county. In fact, it would free up resources to focus more on central and north county areas. I am confused as to why seeking alternative methods to increase public safety is controversial, especially from a petitioner that is in public safety. This body of commissioners are so dedicated to public safety that each of us continue to give $22,000 a year of our salary to the sheriff's office.
Not only that, but we also just offered to give up more of our salaries during this last budget procession.
Correct. $22,000 a year equals $1,833 per month that we sacrifice to improve public safety. The next statement says, Trost exhibits a willingness to engage all residents by an unwillingness to engage all residents by holding meetings primarily in Brookings with little public notice. Since becoming the board chair on May 7th, we have conducted 22 meetings. 16 of those have been located in Gold Beach, and 6 have been in Brookings. So to say that I primarily hold meetings in Brookings is provably false. The next statement says, Trost participated without objection in a meeting held in Brookings that focused on logging lands in Port Orford. This is a blatant attempt to gaslight people from Port Orford. The meeting referred to was a 2-day training workshop that was attended by several political entities, including the Talawadini tribe and Coos County. This was a training on local stewardship law that impacts federal lands. There was no talk of logging in Port Orford. In fact, I'm not sure there are very many trees within the city of Port Orford to log. And that would be up to the city council of Port Orford to decide.
Yep.
The next, Trost inconsistently managed meetings, holding views of opposition to strict rules, but allowing views of support more latitude and engagement. And I will go back and review to see if that is a true statement. I will do that. I haven't had time to review all the meetings and public comments to see if that is a true statement. The petition ends with accountability, transparency, and honesty are paramount for confidence in county government. This is the truest statement in the petition, and the real reason this petition has been filed. The BOC has been working diligently to increase accountability, transparency, and honesty to the public, and it is because of this that we are now targets of this recall. The culture that the BOC has disrupted is a culture of status quo, as Commissioner Hollinger just spoke on. The culture of just give me my budget, I request, and don't ask questions. The culture of if you want to survive as a politician in Curry County, just keep the status quo and don't make waves. This is evident because the only true statements in this petition is that I support exploring the City of Brookings patrolling in harbor, and that I support seeking a declaratory judgment to settle the ORS-identified roles and responsibilities between the BOC and the Sheriff's Office, both of which will have drastic effects on the status quo. I received the message of not disrupting the status quo shortly after I was appointed. My main focus was and continues to be to find solutions to fix our funding issues, in particular for public safety. I was attending an AOC County College at the time and asked if they had a method to ask the counties for funding and staffing information for the Sheriff's Office across the state. I wanted to better understand just how underfunded we were. The Association of Oregon Counties reached out to the Oregon State Sheriff's Association and asked on my behalf if there was any of this information available. I then received a call from Sheriff Ward to come to his office. I did. And here was in there with his captain and handed me an ORS paper, ORS 206.210, Authority of Sheriff to Organize Office, and said, I got a call from OSSA, and I hear you're snooping around asking questions about my office. You need to understand that I run this office. You do not. I informed him that I was asking for information to compare funding from county to county, so that I had a baseline to begin figuring out how much revenue we needed. This was my introduction to asking questions. This was then again highlighted when I learned that the county was 2 fiscal years behind in reconciliations. I addressed this in a public meeting, and the treasurer at the time, David Barnes, responded by stating something to the effect that it wasn't a big deal until you made it one. To which I responded, if this isn't a big deal to you, who is it supposed to be a big deal to? Not long after, we partnered with Lane Council of Governments to assist with our finance department, and then we began learning about all the problems with our financial controls, in particular cash receipting. We then hired a new finance director who was our assigned consultant from LCOG, and she began unraveling the state of our finances, and what she found was incredibly egregious. Shortly after she gave a report to the BOC, the treasurer, Dave Barnes, resigned. We are still finding and fixing financials from Treasurer Barnes' time here and are taking steps to procure a forensic auditor to examine all of the finances from 2020 to 2024. The BOC is not adhering to a mentality of status quo. We are looking into alternative solutions to maximize the funds that we have. We are asking departments what level of service they are providing with your tax dollars. We are working towards increasing accountability to our county policies and collective bargaining agreements. I understand that change isn't easy, and that many of these individuals would rather us just not ask the hard questions. In fact, taking the path of least resistance would be the safest route to take for our political reputations. However, it is our responsibility to continue to seek answers to the most difficult questions in order to find long-term solutions. The truth is, we take our responsibility very seriously, including being the best stewards of your tax dollars that we can be, while attempting to gain and provide information to the public. Asking the sheriff to use data to show what his office is accomplishing with the tax dollars being budgeted, stopping the declaratory judgment from reaching court, and seeking a forensic audit are the real reasons this petition is being filed. This petition for recall is their attempt to retain the status quo and to prevent the accountability, transparency, and action that we are driven to provide the citizens of Curry County. And that is my statement on this.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Well, if I can just kind of elaborate on one thing through this whole thing, is that, honestly, how could you trust anything that Lieutenant Jeremy Crone can say. He ran against his boss this last election in order to become the sheriff. And by running, it was very clear in saying that Sheriff Ward was not doing a good enough job, and Crone felt that he can do better.
Well,
That's a pretty clear statement from somebody from inside the sheriff's office saying things are not being done correctly. So, and like Mr. Trost, hey, I get to go through this recall deal as well. So, I'll present my statement. Mine was filed on the same date, on the 28th of July, by Andre Bay. And I'll just go through that with you, and I'll provide you with my statements. It states in his statement on the petition recall, Commissioner Pat Hollinger has consistently failed to uphold the responsibilities of his office and has undermined representative government in Curry County. Rather than serving the public, he has pushed divisive, legally questionable policies and empowered an unelected official without lawful authority. Okay, who, what's the evidence on that? I don't have any. Don't know. I come here every single day to, bring accountability, bring transparency back to this county. It's been missing for decades. I'm here. We're playing by the rules. We follow the law, and we're starting to hold others to that as well. So the directives of any other unelected official within the county, I would assume he's talking about our director of county operations. Our county of operations is directed by us. He's not a rogue. He doesn't go off on his own. He's directed by us. And I think he does a very good job in his role. Secondly, in his Mr. Bay's statement, Hollinger supported a takeover of public lands. Takeover of public lands? You mean putting together a stewardship agreement with the USDA and U.S. Forest Service, and in the meantime, holding them accountable for their actions? I would not say that's a takeover of public lands. You can't take over public lands. You could state your jurisdictional authority under the Constitution. That's law. And both of those agencies know that and aware of it. And when I called them out on it, hey, look, now I have a great relationship with them and we're working on a contract together. I wouldn't call that a takeover of public lands. That's incredibly false. And I also proposed defying Oregon's sanctuary laws, moves that could expose the county to serious legal consequences. That's in referring to
Real quick.
go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, I have to rewind.
Yeah.
The statement of taking over the public lands. And the petitioner is Andre Bay.
Well, let me before you carry on. I would actually like to state, for anybody who wants to watch, Andre Bay's public comment on February 5th of 2025, and you could see it from the time is 21 minutes and 26 seconds to 23 minutes and 56 seconds, where he states a call to arms. Yes, a call to arms to take back our federal lands. He calls literally to arms, ammunitions, bodies, D9 dozers to barricade the lands from people coming out, and for us just to go start cutting down trees. Really? And he claims I'm the one who wants to take over public lands? I don't think so. But feel free to review his public comments yourself. You could all be the judge of that.
Yeah, that was what I was.
That's what you had? Okay. All right. I stole your thunder. I'm sorry. So Anyway, so Mr. Bay also claims that I propose defying Oregon's sanctuary laws, moves that could expose the county to serious legal consequences. This is also false. This false claim is an intentional misrepresentation to defame my character as well as my actions. During a Curry County Board of Commissioners business meeting on May 5th of this year, I had asked to discuss during that meeting an Immigration and Customs Enforcement draft resolution, which I had been presented for my consideration and discussion within the BOC by a Coos County Commissioner, as it was an item they had been discussing as well. It was never my intention to bring any of this out for any kind of vote or proposal, and it was never brought to vote on, but only for discussion amongst us commissioners during our meeting. And the reason for bringing this up, as stated in that meeting, and you can all go back and review that meeting, the trouble with that is we do have a known cartel presence within our county that traffics drugs and traffics humans. Do we want that in our county? I would say no. I don't think anybody wants that in the county. We want our public to be safe. That was the discussion that we had. And if anybody else also watches the news, there's quite a big push nationally with ICE in our immigration issues within our county. So it would be irresponsible for us to not discuss current situations and for us to not discuss providing any sort of safety that we can to our constituents within the county. So please, you can go back and review our Board of Commissioners meeting, and that one was dated May 7th of this year. Mr. Bay, well, he says here, even more troubling is his ongoing campaign against County Sheriff John Ward, a respected elected official. Hollinger misrepresented evidence to discredit the county sheriff and continues to support our county director of operations, who has interfered with the duties of independently elected officials like our sheriff and tax assessor. I don't know what he means by ongoing campaign. There's no campaign that I have against our sheriff, and I have not misrepresented any evidence. I can only assume that this is in regards to my presenting the transcript from the Oregon Sheriff's Association, where their executive director presented at County College that I attended. County College, if you don't know, it's hosted by the Association of Oregon Counties, and it is sponsored by Oregon State University. It's a 6-month program where we go up there. They do several presentations from several state agencies, as well as other nonprofit groups, and provides elected officials, whether they're commissioners or treasurers or assessors or who else would like to attend, information on how to properly do their jobs, network, and understand all of the agents and how everybody is intertwined and involved together. It's a great education, and it taught me a lot about my role here. And anyways, during that, the executive director for the Sheriff's Association came and had done a presentation, and I recorded it. Well within my legal right to record it. It's a public setting, and anyways, it was something several people within the class do. They'll record because you were literally shoved a ton of information in a short period of time, and it's nice to be able to have those recordings and go back and listen to them again. Anyways, within that, there was a question and answer session at the end where the executive director of the Sheriff's Association was asked some pretty tough and direct questions from several commissioners from other counties. And honestly, he answered them honestly and truthfully, and they fit within the confines of Oregon state law. I commend him for that. Took a lot of guts to be able to answer some pretty tough questions in that situation. So on our Board of Commissioners meeting, I think that was the 20th, May 20th, I had called Executive Director Svensson from the Sheriff's Association and asked his permission to share that transcript or share the audio. He didn't want me to share the audio, but he said that I could share the transcript of the question and answers session and read that to the public, which I did. And anyways, give it a week after that. I got
Can I interject?
Go ahead, please.
So there's a statement about context, right? Out of context?
Yeah, misrepresenting evidence to
So-
discredit.
Commissioner Hollinger transcribed the entire conversation. He
Word
didn't
for
cherry
word.
pick. He put every single word that was said in that training, he transcribed so that there couldn't be any taking out of context. So that is a knowingly false statement.
Knowingly false statement. Approximately a week later, the Board of Commissioners received a...
The other thing is, sorry,
Go ahead.
you know what I'm struggling with is this whole thing about like buzzwords like transparency, right? These political words that we all get hung up on, and in the midst of it, you're literally being pushed back because you brought more information to the table. Like the true crux of this is exactly how it was stated earlier. This is not about accountability, transparency, and honesty. This is about because we have provided accountability, transparency, and honesty. That's the motivating factor behind this petition and these petitions. And it's really, really disappointing, especially when we have individuals, high-ranking individuals that we have at high levels of trust positions who are putting these forward in an effort that they know is blatantly false. That is, sorry, it's hard listening to some of this that you're going through.
So-
You got.
What was really the most troubling out of this is about approximately a week after I had, shared all of this information with the public at our meeting, the Board of Commissioners received a letter from the Executive Director of the Sheriff's Association as well as the President of the Sheriff's Association, who is the Sheriff of Polk County. And it was essentially a threat, a direct threat to me, stating that I broke the law by recording that presentation. And they stated the ORS, which I don't have on top of my head, but the funny thing is that ORS that they stated in order to try and scare me and intimidate me and to try and silence me is actually the same exact ORS that indemnifies me. So you have sheriffs who are intentionally misrepresenting the law in order to intimidate and silence me from speaking the truth and being transparent to my constituents. That is what is troubling. So they got their responses from us. We did letters back to them as well. And honestly, it is currently being investigated.
And what bothers me a little bit, sorry, I need to go on this a little.
Go ahead,
So
please do.
is the only person that Director Svensson's honest statements at County College, the only person that actually affects in a negative way is Sheriff Ward in our declaratory judgment.
That's right.
Because OSSA essentially stated that we were correct in every portion of that lawsuit. And so the only person that truth is inconvenient to is sheriff work.
Right.
And that's what drove that pushback.
Right. For anybody who would like to reference that meeting and that transcript, May 20th of this year, you can pull up and watch the meeting. Mr. Bay also claims that I support our county or director of county operations with interfering with the duties of other elected officials like our county sheriff and our assessor. Again, this is a false assertion as well. He claims that I enable the director of county operations to act without transparency or oversight. This claim is false and lacks any foundational basis. The director of county operations acts upon the direction of the county commissioners. All parties have been transparent with our actions. Again, without any specific evidence from Mr. Bay, this is an intentionally false statement intended to mislead the public and defame my character along with the director of county operations character. Mr. Bay additionally claims that I have deepened public mistrust by appointing my campaign manager slash close friend to a commissioner vacancy, as he calls it, clear cronyism. Here are the facts regarding this intentionally misleading claim. My, quote, campaign manager, Lynn Coker, found and reached out to me very early on to offer his assistance with my campaign. And that's been, well, I guess we've known each other now for almost 2 years. It's September 2 will be 2 years. He volunteered all of his time and efforts, and I never once paid him for his services. He also worked closely with the other commissioners and helped advise them as needed. Needless to say, Mr. Coker was already well versed in county politics and current politics with numerous ongoings within county government. After my successful campaign, Mr. Coker remained a close advisor not only to me, but to the other commissioners as well. Please note that once the commissioner vacancy became available, we did not appoint Mr. Coker first. We appointed Mayor Isaac Hodges from Brookings. Mr. Hodges ended up deciding to not accept the commissioner appointment. So we opened the commissioner vacancy back up. Mr. Coker again submitted his application for appointment, and then we appointed him as the Board of Commissioners found him to be the most qualified out of all of the applicants.
And that's been proven.
And that's been proven.
You have been an incredible addition and breath of, fresh air of knowledge, and your intelligence just it seeps through. Everybody becomes more knowledgeable and more understanding about what we do because of the way you are able to articulate what you do. But not only do you communicate well, but you take action. And we are 100%
Yep.
made the right choice in that appointment.
So I have all of the evidence in the world to show that Mr. Bay's statements are false and intentionally mislead the public. The statements that he claims defame my character and actions and damage public trust in our local government. I am happy to discuss further and provide any additional statements, documents that I might have, or if anybody else wants. I will give you whatever you want to review, whatever you do want to meet with me. I also want to state this. So this is the prospective petition for recall. I want to read to you the very first sentence on this form. It says, warning, supplying false information on this form may result in conviction of a felony with a fine of up to $125,000 and or prison for up to 5 years. Oregon Revised Statute, that's Oregon Law 260.532, false publication relating to a candidate or a measure. A candidate who knows of and consents to a publication or advertisement prohibited by this section with knowledge or with reckless disregard that it contains a false statement of material fact violates this section regardless of whether the candidate has participated directly in the publication or advertisement. I would very much recommend that our petitioners review the law and review their statements once again. So, again, I will, I'm going to continue doing my job, coming in every day. If you want me to be honest, this doesn't worry me or stress me out one bit. I'm going to continue coming here every day, continue doing my job, hold those accountable, be transparent, do everything I can for this county to make it better, because not only do I live here, my wife, my kids, my friends, other family, my neighbors, all live here. I don't have any self-interest other than I want it to be a better place for everybody to live, and I want to be as responsible as possible for everybody who pays taxes within our county. I'm going to continue to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
I would agree. And I would, that was very well said. And I'm proud to work alongside you.
Yeah,
And,
thank you.
We'll as well continue to work and do the best we can to ensure that this does not become a distraction that takes up unnecessary time and efforts moving forward, so that we can get the work that we need to get done. We have a lot of things going on our docket. We have a lot of things,
Yep.
real exciting things moving forward, so we need to continue to press on those.
So,
And
the truth is, those who fear accountability do not speak the truth. They forge illusions, hoping defamation will succeed where integrity has failed them. But even the darkest slander burns away under the weight of its own false light. The truth will prevail, folks.
agreed.
Well, I want to thank you guys for standing firm in the face of fire. And I look forward to working with you all the way through your terms and beyond. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah.
And thank you for everyone who came today. A lot of familiar faces.
Thank you.
I appreciate all of you coming out today to hear these comments and progress and things going forward. So with that, if there's nothing else,
Nothing from me.
No?
I will adjourn this meeting at 6:23 on Friday, April 1st.
Have a good